Welcome, friends. Today I want to share some exercises that help you overcome one of the most immobilizing emotions we experience, and that is the emotion of fear. When we are really dealing with a fear, it absolutely can stop us from moving forward in life. In fact, it can also create a lot of mental anguish, even contribute to physical illness in the body. And it can just seem like an insurmountable obstacle to getting to our goals. But today I want to help you turn fear from an insurmountable obstacle into perhaps a doorway to growth, a leap pad to leap forward spiritually, mentally, emotionally. And the first thing I'd like to do is offer a few enhancements, some things that you can use when you are afraid. If you are someone who enjoys crystals and stones and the like, there are three fairly common stones that are actually quite helpful for helping us alleviate the emotion of fear. And that is diamond, if you happen to have diamond, not a cheap one, but it is common. Onyx is another one, or smoky quartz. Now, some of us pick up crystals and feel nothing, and some of you pick up crystals and feel a lot of energy. But those three are all particularly good for dealing with the emotion of fear. And as we do our breathing exercise and meditation today, if you happen to have one of those, I invite you to just simply hold it in the palm of your hand as we do the exercise. Moving forward, let's go ahead and dive into a meditation. I invite you to take a big stretch as you reach your arms overhead, stretching the fingertips towards the ceiling, lengthening the spine. And take a big sigh out the mouth as you bring your arms down to your sides. And then I invite you to close your eyes and take your right index finger and just gently tap the very center of the forehead. And this actually is an energy point on the body that helps us face fear and move through it. And after a moment of tapping, I invite you to just bring your arm down, release the tapping. And I invite you to also think about the very first time you ever felt afraid. The first time that you can remember. What triggered that fear response? Was it something scary you saw on TV or in a movie? Was it something that just came out of the blue, seemingly for no reason, like maybe triggered an instinctual fear within you? Or is it possible that the first time you remember feeling fear was related to picking up a fear from someone in your family or someone around you, learning to be afraid of something based on the fear of a family member? I definitely personally remember my earliest memories of fear were related to things that my mom was afraid of, like big scary dogs, snakes, and that sort of thing. Now, I invite you to fast forward to the present day. What is your most common fear trigger right now at this season in your life? Is it something related to your finances? Is it a fear of illness or personal safety, or even the health or personal safety of a loved one? Or is it just something else altogether? And throughout the remainder of this meditation and breathing exercise, I am going to ask your higher self, also known as your soul, that wise part of yourself that's removed from our emotions, to weigh in, to guide, to direct the information that flows to your conscious awareness. In this moment, I ask your soul to point out to your conscious mind what is the root of your current fear. In other words, where did this current fear you deal with originate? And now I invite you to identify where you feel the energy of that fear in your body. When you feel this fear, does it create a stomach ache or neck tension or back pain or anything else along those lines? And when you're ready, I invite you to open your eyes. We are going to do a very simple yet very effective breathing exercise that's quite common for releasing fears and moving through them. This breathing exercise involves an inhale through the nose and then a pursed lips, prolonged exhale through the mouth. So we will breathe in rather quickly through the nose, won't necessarily count it. And then we're going to do a 7-count exhale through pursed lips. I invite you to imagine that as we do each of the inhales, you are breathing that breath right into that part of the body where you feel the energy of this current fear you face. And every time you exhale, you are pushing that fear energy out with the breath. If you do have a stone such as onyx, diamond, or smoky quartz, I invite you to hold that in the palm of your hand. Perhaps you could even hold it up to your heart or your solar plexus. And then to help a bit, I do also invite you to close your eyes for this breathing exercise. We will do 7 rounds in total. It can also be helpful to open a window a bit, either before or after this breathing exercise, just to let that energy go and get it out of your space. And when you are ready, I invite you to sit up nice and tall, get comfortable, perhaps close your eyes. Empty all the air from your lungs. And let's begin. Breathe in right to that part of the body where you feel the fear. And a 7-count exhale through pursed lips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Take another deep breath into wherever that fear is in the body. Let's get ready to exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Take another deep breath into wherever fear is in the body. Purse the lips and let's exhale for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Another deep and powerful breath into wherever the fear is. 7-count pursed lips exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Deep inhale to wherever the fear was. 7-count pursed lips exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's getting cleared out. It's almost gone. Deep breath in to wherever the fear is. 7-count pursed lips exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And last breath. Deep inhale. 7-count pursed lips exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And just for a moment, I invite you to keep your eyes closed. Let's imagine this fear that you've been working with as a weed in your garden. Most of us have pulled a weed or two out of the garden at some point in our lives. And if you have any experience with pulling weeds in the garden, you know that if you get just the right grip in just the right spot, and you use just the right amount of force, you can get that weed out beautifully, perfectly, by the roots, and it's actually quite satisfying when all the roots come out. But you've also probably experienced trying to pull it and only getting the top while the roots remain stuck underground. And when that happens, you know that that weed will grow back again. So let's imagine that this particular weed of fear is growing in your garden. If you're visual, you can visualize what I describe. If you are less visual, simply imagine the feeling of what I describe. Let's imagine that this fear weed isn't just a throwaway weed, but perhaps an edible weed where you could either cook the roots, cook the greens, or possibly cook and enjoy both for dinner. And I invite you to imagine that weed of fear out there in your garden. It's perhaps got deep roots, perhaps has grown quite large. But I imagine approaching that weed with immense confidence. You've got your garden gloves on. You have this instinctive feel for where to grip the weed and just how much pressure to apply and force. And when you feel ready, you take a deep breath. And on your exhale, imagine pulling that weed precisely with strength, confidence, and courage. And every bit of that root comes out. Not one shred of it is wasted. And imagine that this is the kind of weed you could cook and eat. Maybe make a salad out of it or cook the roots. But let this not be a wasted experience, but an experience that makes you stronger. And before we close this meditation, I invite your soul self, higher self, to speak to your conscious awareness and explain to you what the opportunity for growth is after having processed and faced the fear. Take a moment to feel that. And if there are any action steps remaining to be taken in life to work through this fear, to get fully on the other side of it, take a moment to feel that as well. When you feel complete, I invite you to open your eyes, and it's always such a great idea to pull out your journal and do a little bit of writing about fear. I even recommend, as a journaling prompt starter, to imagine that fear itself was writing a letter to you. And you can write, "Dear," fill your name in there, and then write, "I have shown up in your life to give you some opportunity for growth. And here is how I invite you to grow." In other words, imagine fear presenting an opportunity to you rather than just being a mean and stubborn obstacle. Thank you for joining me in this reflection and meditation. I look forward to seeing you again on another meditative journey. Until next time, be blessed, abundant, and courageous.